The Forgotten Kingdom. Chapter 1. Amara, an enslaved woman, discovers a mysterious amulet. Amara's calloused hands closed around the worn leather pouch, a whisper of hope blooming in her tired heart. Days spent combing the ruins of Kal-Nazar, the once opulent capital of a fallen empire, yielded meager treasures: scrap metal, weathered pottery shards, an occasional tarnished coin. But this pouch was different. It radiated a subtle hum, a warmth that seemed to answer her own weary ache. The setting sun painted the crumbling city in hues of amber and gold, its fractured glory a stark contrast to the squalor of Amara's existence. Once her ancestors walked these streets, adorned in silk and jewels as nobles under the sapphire sun, the symbol of the long-lost kingdom of Nira. Now they were slaves, their heritage a whispered tale told in the dead of night. The pouch throbbed with a heartbeat rhythm, the call too insistent to ignore. She retreated into the hollowed skeleton of a merchant's stall, fingers trembling as she pried open the rusted clasp. Inside, a tarnished amulet nestled amongst faded velvet. Not gold or silver, but a dull bronze-like metal etched with swirling lines that writhed and danced before her eyes. The script was unfamiliar, the forms alien. A shiver ran down her spine, an uncanny mixture of fear and elation. This was more than a trinket, she sensed it. This was a relic of her people, a tether to a forgotten past. The marketplace thrummed with the evening bustle, gruff shouts of bartering, the sharp scent of roasted meat, the undercurrent of desperation that clung to this makeshift settlement built within the ruins. Around Amara, her fellow slaves, their lineage also once Niran, pushed carts and hawked scavenged wares, eyes dulled by a life in chains. A pang of guilt twisted within her. Escape was a word that tasted like treason on her tongue. Her escape meant leaving her mother, her brother, all who depended on the meager scraps she brought home. But the amulet pulsed in her hand, a beacon of unfathomable possibilities. "Amara!" Her overseer's bellow cut through the din. A brute of a man, thick neck corded with veins, bald scalp gleaming in the fading light. She hastily concealed the amulet, a surge of panic overriding her burgeoning hope. She had been caught dallying before, the overseer's lash no stranger to her back. Mustering a subservient stoop, she turned towards him. "What is it, Overseer Khalil?" Her voice was hoarse, a testament to the long, sun-scorched hours. "Did you think you could hide amongst those ruins? Don't think you can shirk your duties, girl." He prodded her with a filthy finger. "The caravan departs at dawn and you'll be sorting provisions, hear me?" A bitter sigh escaped her. The eastern caravan meant weeks traversing the harsh desert, catering to the whims of sandwalker merchants. At least this journey held the promise of a few gold coins as payment, a chance to ease the hunger gnawing at her family. But the amulet, it burned against her skin now, a relentless call to a different destiny. Night fell, the bloated moon casting a ghostly glow over the camp. With practiced ease, Amara slipped away from the crude tent she shared with a dozen other women. The guards were lax. They believed their slaves too broken in spirit to contemplate escape into the unforgiving wilderness. Yet the lure of the amulet was stronger than any fear. Creeping back to the ruined stall, she retrieved the artifact, letting its warmth course through her. The strange symbols flowed like liquid fire, forming an image, a pull towards the vast dunes in the west, where legend whispered the heart of Nira had once beaten. Decision hardened within her. This amulet, relic, whatever it was her inheritance. To claim it was to reclaim a shred of the birthright stolen from her people. Stealing a water skin and a handful of dates, Amara vanished into the shadows. The desolate city, a maze of tumbled marble and sandstone, swallowed her. Behind her lay a life of bondage. Ahead stretched uncertainty, a journey towards a kingdom swallowed by sand and time. But it was a journey of her own choosing. And for the first time in years, Amara tasted not despair but the sharp, intoxicating tang of hope. Chapter 2. Flashback to the kingdom's glorious past before its downfall. Princess Zoya glided through the palace, her silken skirts whispering against the mosaic floors. The grand hall of the sapphire sun shimmered with a brilliance that rivaled the celestial body itself. Gold twisted into intricate vines studded with gems that winked with rainbow hues, framed vast panels depicting the feats of Niran heroes and the watchful benevolence of their patron goddess Isa, the weaver of light. Every surface told a story. Here, the founding of Nera, its people guided by Isa to this oasis amidst the unforgiving sands. There, their first king, Jalil the Wise, forging peace with the nomadic Sandwalker tribes. It was history not only celebrated but lived. Nera was a haven, its prosperity a beacon within the great desert. Laughter floated through the archways as Zoya entered the heart of the palace, a garden bursting with vibrant blooms, a stark defiance against the arid landscape beyond. It was her mother's sanctuary, Queen Yasmin, a blur of emerald silk and warm laughter amidst the flowers. "Child, you walk with the weight of the world on your shoulders," the queen chided, beckoning Zoya closer. Zoya grimaced. "A princess must have poise, mother. Father insists." She settled onto a cushion beside Yasmin, the lingering scent of jasmine at odds with the serious line of the young princess's brow. Even at 14, Zoya carried herself with an air of preternatural responsibility, of burdens yet unfelt. "Your father," Queen Yasmin patted Zoya's hand fondly, "means well. But you are a child, my jewel. Laughter suits you far better than worry." "But how can I laugh," Zoya countered, "when our enemies grow bolder? Uncle Daoud returned from the border with tales of whispers in the southern tribes, whispers of discontent." The queen's smile faltered. King Farad, Zoya's father, was a just ruler, beloved by his subjects. But the desert was a harsh mistress. Drought, skirmishes with resentful nomads, and a slowly gnawing unease had crept over the kingdom in recent years. "Rumors are like desert winds, my love," Yasmin soothed. "They carry dust but seldom substance." "This feels different, mother," Zoya insisted. "And the weavers?" Her voice trailed off. The weavers were Nera's beating heart, their magic a sacred gift from Isa herself. They could commune with the spirits of the oasis, coaxing precious water from the depths. They blessed harvests, healed the sick, and wove light into tapestries that told of past and future. But of late the weavers' faces grew more lined, their visions fragmented and foreboding. "We have overcome hardships before, Zoya," said the queen, her voice firm. "You carry the blood of Jalil the Wise. You will inherit this kingdom, and under your rule, Nera will endure." Determination flared in Zoya's eyes, but fear lingered. In her short life, she had known only prosperity. Tales of past trials seemed like myths, battles fought and won, hardships overcome. But an ever-present hum of tension had replaced the serene melody of her childhood. That same night, Zoya found her father not in his usual council chamber, but gazing up at the night sky from the highest tower. "Father," she called softly, tentative amidst his solitude. "Zoya." He turned, and the exhaustion lining his face was a wound upon her heart. "You should be asleep." "You always told me that a ruler must see beyond her own needs," she countered, echoing his words back at him. A flicker of a smile touched his lips. "Come then, a wise ruler also recognizes her limitations." He gestured towards the heavens. The sapphire sun, Nera's namesake and their guiding star, shone with its usual brilliance. But beneath its glow, Zoya saw what had drawn her father's worry. A web of cracks marring the inky expanse of the night, faint yet spreading. "The weavers say." He swallowed, his hand tightening on the stone railing. "They say it's an ill omen, a fissure in the cosmic tapestry, a blight descending." And just like that, Zoya's world shattered. The legends suddenly felt real. The dangers her mother brushed aside transformed into something monstrous and unstoppable. The fall of Nera, when it came, wasn't a swift blow, but a creeping decay. The cracks in the heavens grew, rains failed, the oasis dwindled. From across the sands came not peace envoys, but raiders emboldened by desperation. Nera, a beacon of plenty, became a target. And from within, the whispered discontent festered into open rebellion. Chapter 3. Amara has a vision of the lost heir to the throne. She escapes. Days bled into a grueling trek. The caravan snaked its way across the desert, camels groaning beneath the weight of silks and spices, sand stinging Amara's eyes and scouring her skin. Escape had seemed simple amidst the ruins of Kal-Nazar, but the vast, relentless dunes held dangers of their own. Hunger became a gnawing ache, the sun a vengeful god searing her exposed skin. Yet the amulet burned ever hotter against her chest, a beacon guiding her west. It whispered in the howl of the wind, flickered in the dance of mirages. At night, beneath a tapestry of unfamiliar stars, it pulsed with an urgency that banished any thought of turning back. Then came the dreams, not memories of her own life, but flashes of another's, laughter amidst swirling silks, moonlight glinting on a jeweled crown, the warmth of a mother's embrace. They were disjointed, fleeting, and infused with an underlying sorrow. But through them all ran a figure, a young woman with solemn dark eyes and skin the color of rich desert earth. Princess Zoya, Amara breathed one night, the name materializing on her tongue like a long-forgotten song. And suddenly, the amulet was not merely an ancient relic, but a key, a way to bridge the gulf between past and present. The Lost Kingdom was more than a legend. It yearned to be reclaimed, its princess to be found. Then terror seized her as reality clawed its way back. One of the Sandwalker merchants, a leathery-faced man with eyes like polished obsidian, stared down at her. "What do you murmur about, slave?" The question was a whipcrack. Amara's mind scrambled, her heart drumming a frantic rhythm. "Nothing, master!" she choked out, pushing herself upright. "Just an old lullaby." He eyed her with suspicion, the predatory glint deepening in his eyes, but turned away with a grunt. Amara slumped back to the sand, shaking. She had to escape not only her enslavers, but those who sought relics of the old kingdom. That night offered her a chance. A sudden sandstorm tore through the camp, scattering the caravan into shrieking chaos. Camels bolted, tents flattened, and Amara found herself swallowed by a swirling vortex of grit and darkness. When the winds calmed, she was alone, the only sound the whisper of sand against sand. The merchants, valuing their wares more than a single defiant slave, would be far behind. Hope surged anew, but it was tempered by fear. The visions had intensified, not just flashes, but snippets of Zoya's life. In them, Amara saw a desperate exodus, a kingdom in flames, and the princess fleeing into the desert, clutching a jeweled casket. The amulet pulsed. West, it urged, west towards the ruins where the princess had vanished. There were answers there, and perhaps a way to undo a tragedy centuries old. Food and water taken from the abandoned caravan would barely sustain her on the journey, but Amara had no other choice. Survival was a daily gamble for one born into slavery. Perhaps Nira's forgotten heir would guide her to better odds. She slipped away under the muted dawn light. With every step, Amara became less a fleeing slave and more a woman on a pilgrimage, spurred on by ancient magic and the fading echo of a name. Zoya. The desert shifted under her bare feet. It was the same landscape, yet subtly altered. Legends told of the weavers and their power to shape the sands to Nira's favor. Had they woven a path towards their princess's salvation, one that Amara now tread? The thought filled her with awestruck determination. The sun beat down, but exhaustion was a distant echo. The amulet acted as a conduit, drawing forth a hidden well of strength within her, fueling her steps. Time lost all meaning. It was only the visions guiding her forward, snippets lengthening into scenes of desperate flight and a final tearful farewell between the broken king and his daughter beneath the cracked heavens. Then, abruptly, the visions ceased. She'd reached her destination. Before her lay not tumbled ruins, but a semicircle of great stones rising from the dunes like ancient guardians. Each was carved with swirling motifs that echoed those on the amulet. At the setting of the sun, their shadows stretched and conjoined, forming an archway of shimmering twilight. Amara knew with utter certainty that Zoya had crossed this threshold, vanishing into the heart of the dunes and perhaps beyond. Taking a trembling breath, Amara stepped forward. The twilight swallowed her whole. Chapter 4. The usurper King Zain hears rumors of a surviving heir. He sends assassins. King Zain surveyed the opulent decay of his conquered palace, once the gleaming heart of Nira, now a trophy slowly fading into obscurity. Silk tapestries hung in tatters, their depictions of Niran heroes mocked by the dust creeping over the marble floors. The grand hall of the Sapphire Sun gaped like a wound, its magnificent domed roof pierced by the blight that had torn kingdom and heavens apart. Once he had been Prince Zain, half-brother to the gentle King Farad, known throughout Nira for his sharp intelligence and even sharper tongue. Then the blight descended, the oasis withered, and Zain had done what he considered necessary. A kingdom in ruins requires a leader of ruthlessness, not sentimentality. Whispers in the shadows, a vial of poison in the king's wine, and the throne was his. But true power, as he had quickly learned, was an elusive thing built on fragile foundations. Nomadic tribes once loyal to the crown raided Nera's borders. Rebellions flared up within the city, fueled by loyalists lamenting their lost king. Zayn crushed them, his cruelty earning him reverence born out of fear and not respect. And there were the Weavers. Those who hadn't perished in the fall still lingered, their tattered robes and haunted eyes mockeries of their former influence. They prophesied, weaving threads of smoke instead of light, their voices a chorus of ruin and doom. Yet the superstitious masses clung to their every word, turning the Weavers into a threat far more insidious than any sword-wielding rebel. Now, however, a new threat clawed at the corners of his reign. Rumors. Whispers of an amulet, a relic of the old dynasty. And within those whispers a name, Zoya, the former King Farad's daughter, his heir, thought to have been slain during the chaos. But what if the stories were false? What if the princess lived, a figurehead for those discontent with his iron rule? The thought festered inside him, poisoning the meager triumphs he'd clung to. His chamber, once the lavish domain of Nera's rulers, felt like a cage, the silk hanging stifling, the shadows teeming with hidden enemies. Varen. Zayn summoned his chief advisor, his spy master. The man materialized from the gloom, a gaunt figure perpetually clad in deepest black. My king. Varen's bow was a token gesture, devoid of true supplication. He was Zayn's blade in the darkness, yet even Zayn knew the adage. The dagger cares not whose hand it cuts. This rumor of the amulet of Farad's whelp, Zayn spat the words like venom. What substance is there to it? There's always substance, my king, to what the rabble whispers. Varen's voice was smooth, yet carried the hiss of a serpent. A slave escaped from a caravan, she possesses the artifact and perhaps knowledge of where the girl-child might be hidden. Find her, retrieve the amulet. Zayn clenched his hands, the dull ache where his signet ring dug into his palm a strange comfort. And if she leads you to Zoya, end them both. Varen inclined his head. Consider it done. Fear and ambition warred within Zayn. On one hand, ending the last remnants of Farad's lineage would solidify his power. On the other, a living Zoya could be far more valuable than a dead one. A puppet queen, her claim legitimizing his rule, a balm to quell the unrest. Yes, finding her was imperative, but she must be found on his terms. He would not be beholden to a beggar girl and an ancient relic. If she proved too defiant, the desert had many ways to swallow inconvenient truths. A slow, grim smile spread across Zayn's face. The amulet would be his, a means to locate Zoya if she lived, and a symbol of his complete dominion over the broken kingdom should she be dead and the rumors merely echoes of the past. In the end, it mattered little. The throne of Nera was his, and he would choke any opposition, be it from rebels, weavers, or the ghost of a princess. And perhaps beneath the layers of dust and decay, he would rebuild Nera, not to its former benevolent glory, but into a nation forged in his own image, harsh, unyielding, and entirely his own.